Hey.
Hey,
Technical problems. Press the wrong one. Press the wrong button. There we go. It wouldn't be normal if I
Good
didn't
evening,
screw up at the beginning.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Snowflake Show. How you all doing today? I hope you're all well. I am your co-host, regularly alongside.
Me, Lee Corn, here again.
Always that 1 second.
That's a delay. That's a slight delay. I'm trying to remember who the hell I am.
Slight delay. And over the next hour, guys, we're going to bring you the latest news that's been going on, as well as some good and some funny stories as well. We're on episode 3 of season 2 so
Season
far,
2,
Lee,
yeah.
And it's been just more scandals, more stories, more tumbleweed passing as
Quiet week.
as the weeks go by.
Quiet week again.
It's just
No,
nothing going on, guys. Apart of bit of a bit cold, maybe bit chilly. You know, nothing else.
Yeah, no, just
Maybe the chat can tell us what's going on.
I don't know. Yeah. Ben Shaw says, "Evening, everyone. Evening, Ben." Stu says, "How, guys? How?" Regan Leak says, "Good evening, fellow snowflakes." Oh, that's you, isn't it? Sorry. Sorry, the cat says.
Is it me?
Goodly evenings, everybody's. Hi, Larry. Chatty Rat says, "Good evening, all." Conservator, hi, guys and dolls. Ginger says, "Hello, everyone. It's snowing again." Oh, that's.
I know. I don't know what keeps happening on the show.
Conservator. Oh, sorry. Do you mean on the show, or do you mean where you live, Gingers? But Conservator says, "Meow, Larry." Okay. Heidi Ho, Conservator. Conservator says, "I'm here for the intro." Yay!
That's it. Just came for the intro. Thanks for watching.
And Lefty Bottle says, "How do?" And Stu says, "Hey, not how, bloody phone." Yeah, just a bit. So Larry the Cat says, "Just a bit more Tory sleaze every day happening in Tory Town." Yeah, so just not much happening apart from a bit of tax evasion from some leading Tory, maybe one or two others.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. Allegedly.
Not accusing it.
I saw a brilliant. I saw a brilliant tweet before from Tim Burgess of God, what was the band he was in? I can't remember the name of it. It's Sparrow Carpets now. But I'll find it. I'll bring it up in a bit. What else has been happening then?
The government lost over 20,000 children migrants.
20,000? You mean 200?
No, it was. I'm sure it was 20. It was a huge number. From the Guardian, it was reported. I remember Graham covered it on his live stream on Monday. All Shorts also covered it on his live stream on Monday. If you guys missed them, and yeah, it was pretty. When there was the urgent question on it in the Commons, they have reported that a lot of them, some have been recovered, but not everyone. This was not every single hotel. This was not every single place. I can say that it was one hotel in particular, and somehow the traffickers who basically brought migrants over the boats and all that are basically linked to it because they knew where to target the hotel, basically.
Right.
Yeah, it's a horrible story. I know a lot of people have heard it, and yeah, I'm not going to use the language that I want to use here, but it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah. The problem is, 200 children missing, more likely the fraction of the number of missed adults. Yeah, I mean, when there was that thing the other week about remember those asylum seekers who were just dumped when they're trying to clear out that Manford.
Yeah, they dumped them at Victoria, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then eventually just told them to go and see family, just go and stay with family or friends. It's like, so they're not keeping track of where they're living, so nobody knows where they are. Yeah, it's disgraceful. But yeah, 200 children. Someone's saying they're being taken off the streets. I think Graham was saying on the literally being kidnapped off the streets, bundled into cars.
They're literally traffickers just grabbing them and taking them away.
Jesus, it's terrible.
It's yeah, pretty horrible story. Um, I,
Excuse me, I've still got a cough.
I'm glad Graham went off on a rant on Monday about it, guys. If you didn't see it, because he saved me a lot of. I was very upset that day when I first read that story. It was my day off, and all I could think about was those children,
Mm.
because you as a parent, Lee, anybody here, when it comes to the kids, it's like they're just innocent in all this. Um, it's one thing for adults, but it's another thing when we're talking about children's lives here.
Mm.
So, but let's hope that they're found and recovered as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That's and just hope the police force can find and recover these children as quickly as possible. Let's just cross our fingers for all of them out there,
Yeah.
guys. I think that's the main thing the best we can hope for.
Yeah. Moving on. PMQs. Did you watch that today?
I did watch it today. Keir Starmer did hit the questions about the tax stuff with the former chancellor, but he only said, I think it was only like the last two questions he really hit Sunak on them. He spent the first four questions. It was about oh god, he really had some really basically about somebody who um lost someone lost their life.
Someone was attacked, weren't they, and died.
Yes, sorry. Yes, thank you. Yes. It was basically basically they were already being watched basically by the Home Office or whoever associates of it or whatever, and basically he was supposed to be removed from the streets, and they never removed him from the streets, and this attack and murder.
I think was it the probation service was supposed to let him go when he shouldn't have done.
He was a threat, and they still let him out.
Yeah.
So,
but they said he was part of the inquiry said that part of the problem was that they were understaffed and overworked, and so they just didn't have the manpower to actually assess everybody, which is really worrying.
Keir didn't, in his questions, he never really put the. Basically, he was more of the questions of who is responsible for this, why did this happen, as opposed to why did the government fail it more. Well, that's how it was interpreted from my watching of it.
Well, I mean we know who's at fault. It's the government for underfunding basically the crime prevention as a whole. Police numbers. Remember a few years back when Theresa May was Home Secretary, and she went in front of a police conference and told them that they're losing 20,000 police officers wouldn't have any effect, wouldn't be detrimental to the police service. And it was just just none of it made any sense, just complete and utter nonsense. And now they're talking about increasing the number of police officers. But Chatty Rat says the perp was released early from prison despite being a threat. Yeah.
That's it. Yep. Thank you, Chatty Rat. There was also a story from Sky News as well, guys. I think it was over in. I'm just trying to remember what it was. It was blown up from Sky News. One of the country over in Asia. I can't remember off the top of my head, guys. I know we want to talk about the. I know you want to talk a bit about Santos in the US as well, don't you?
Just I don't know if anybody's seen this about George Santos, US congressman, senator.
Yep, US congressman.
And he's,
who is if you think Boris Johnson is a liar, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Well, he's probably best way to describe his Grant Shapps on steroids. So, a guy we're not even sure if George Santos is his real name. Claimed that his mother died as a result of September 11th, which was still actually in Brazil. Claimed that
he's also claimed he was Jewish.
Yeah, and his grandparents died in the Holocaust, which is complete nonsense. Or were Holocaust survivors, I think was actually a thing. which is complete nonsense.
And the best lie of all is when, well, allegedly that he basically took money from money that was raised for a dying veteran dog story as well.
Yeah, I don't know the full story, but yeah, he's raised money for a dying veteran's dog or something, or to get him a dog, or to
Yeah,
look after his dog, and
yeah, and
he
he
kept the money,
basically took the
about four and a half
money
thousand dollars or
basically,
something.
allegedly.
Well,
So
what was the other one I saw? He's supposed. He says he's gay, but he was married up
mhm,
until to a woman up until for about 20 years, up until 2000,
yep,
2019, something like that, just
mhm,
before his campaign. Um,
yep,
yeah, I mean, there's just so much about his story. He places he went to university and school that he said he went to. So he played. He was a member of
yeah.
the university
He sounds
basketball,
like the
no,
perfect
volleyball team.
candidate for president of the United States, Lee.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's being called out on everything at the moment, so he's really having to backtrack on a lot of stuff. But yeah, um,
He's not really going back on it. But yeah, Brian Tyler Cohen, brilliant YouTuber, does America. Um, I've got his videos that post on our server as well as some other people who've been
yeah,
constantly following him. But yeah, you won't hear the last of that guy, that's for sure,
no,
people.
no,
There was one other story, but I can't remember it, and I can't seem to find it. It was somewhere in Asia. But
okay.
shall we get on to the news that we're covering today, Lee, or is
Yeah,
there
well,
any
should we
more
just
that we
check
could?
on the chat because there's a lot of chat going on. So Ginger says, I mean, it's snowing here outside, another 6 inches expected. Oh, that's bad. And shows the
Oh,
charlatans, the charlatan, and Tim Burgess. I can't find the post he put, but it was
mm,
something about something along the lines of I thought a mishap or was it a mistake? Something was to maybe spill a cup of coffee, but no, it turns out selling your shares to your parents, setting up an overseas trust, and
mm,
selling your shares for 27 million is that turns out to be a bit of a what was it? Yeah, what was it? He used Zahawi used a particular phrase to say that he wasn't deliberate attempt to avoid paying tax. It was just
yeah.
a slight mishap. That was it, a mishap. I think he was. Yeah.
Hi,
Uh,
Kendra. Casper, how you doing?
yeah. Hi,
Jim
Kendra.
Vengeance, good to see you guys
Chatting about.
as well. Lefty Boater, good to see you. Hugh, good to see you there as well. See
Anything?
those who are struggling in as well.
Missing children. Honest Bob a job getting his backside handed to him. Uh,
Mm.
yeah.
Hello, hello,
Hear
hello.
what Gullis had to
Uh,
say. Hear what Gullis had to say.
Evening, both
Sorry.
Sunak's father-in-law, Hussein, evening, both Sunak's father-in-law allegedly is making loads of money with Russia-Indian oil deals this year.
So yeah, Ben Shaw says that Gully said something to say about those kids, the missing kids. I haven't read it, so I've seen it, so I'll have to have a look at that. But it doesn't sound good. Used to be a teacher too.
Mm, yeah. So, Larry and Chatty, yeah. It's not snowing here yet, but it's very cold, Kendra says in France as well. So I think France? Yeah, I think over in France you are. Economicals with the tax. That's number three. How are I number three? I hope you're well. Um, shall we get into the news, Lee?
Yeah, Ginger says they have better liars in America. Well, in your government, yeah, you do. We've got a fair few
That is
ourselves,
true.
but yeah, Grant Chaps just has a fake name, but yeah, George Santos is
It's
on
not.
another level. Yeah. Um, right, we're gonna do news then. Let's do it.
Hmm. Let's go right into it.
Okay.
And we start in Ukraine. Um, so obviously, there's been a lot of news, obviously, about tanks and sending tanks to Ukraine because Ukraine are in desperate need of assistance. So this is from the Guardian. It was posted today by them. So the US joins Germany in sending tanks to Ukraine as Biden hails a united effort. Joe Biden approves sending the 31 M1 Abraham tanks to Ukraine, a significant escalation in the US effort to counter Russia's aggression as international why can I not say that word?
Reluctance.
Reluctance, thank you, to send tanks to the battlefront falls away. The reversal of the U.S. previous position came after Germany confirmed it will make 14 of its Leopard 2A6 tanks available for the Ukraine's war effort and give partner countries its permission to re-export other battle tanks to aid Kiev. By agreeing to send the Abrahams, the US is able to meet the demands of the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz for an American commitment, but without having to send the tanks immediately. Putin expects Europe and the United States to weaken our resolve, Biden said in the Roosevelt Room at the White House. He's expecting our support for Ukraine to crumble with time. He is wrong, he is wrong, he is wrong from the beginning, and he will continue to be wrong. Biden added that we remain united and determined than ever in our conviction and our cause. These tanks are further evidence of our enduring, unflagging commitment to Ukraine and our confidence in the skill of the Ukrainian forces. Earlier, the president had spoken by phone with President Emmanuel Macron of France, Scholz of Germany, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of Italy, and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak of Britain. Biden says Germany has really stepped up. The Chancellor has been a very strong voice for unity. In public statements, Washington and Berlin had denied any connection between the respective decision on tanks, although media reports said German officials had made it clear in private that the Leopards were conditional on US making similar commitments. Berlin's hesitant stance on the battle tanks questions had caused disquiet amongst its Western allies and puzzlement in Germany in recent days. Critics in Scholz's own governing coalition accused its chancellery of being paralysed by inner-party conflicts. So that's what it's been. So there's been infighting in the German government basically over the decision to
Yeah, there's
tanks.
the issue really is that in Germany is that you got some people who are saying, well, we've got responsibility because of what happened in the Second World War. We've got responsibilities to sort of help countries defend themselves against an aggressor. On the other hand, you got those that say, well, if we send tanks, it could be a sign that we want to this could escalate, and then we could end up with a World War III, and we would get the blame for it. Is part of the reason. I suppose there's other elements to it, but Germany don't want to be seen as an aggressor. So there's it's sort of balancing both sides. It's interesting that the Americans are sending the Abrams, because the Abrams, I believe, is the one with the jet engine as the power unit for it. I think it does like 3 miles to the gallon or something. It's just so expensive to run. It needs a lot of maintenance and equipment, and that was the Americans' reason for not wanting to send them. So to send, what is it, 29 of them, 39 of them? Are they going to send?
Didn't say.
31.
I don't think it's.
Excuse me. 31 Abrams.
31, that's a lot.
That's quite a lot, yeah. I mean, I think the Leopard tanks, now that Germany's agreed to send them, and they said that they're not going to stop any other country like Poland or whoever sending them. Portugal want to send some, Spain want to send some. Apparently, Portugal have got the very top, the latest or very, very modern ones compared to the ones. The Germans, apparently, they've been sat in storage for over a decade, and so they're very mouldy inside. They need to be cleaned up and refurbished. But I think part of it is going to be training in terms of getting the tank drivers trained up on these tanks.
Yeah, just a couple of bits here. So Norway have said in the same article that they're sending 2 Leopard tanks as well to help. Yeah, as you were saying, it's quite a pain in the backside to maintain the US tanks. And that was Washington had argued it would be more productive to send German Leopards since many allies have already have them, and Ukrainian troops would need less training and be more difficult. But it looks like, I think they said, okay, we'll send them, but you need to send something too. Basically.
That was apparently always the stumbling block. The Americans were like, well, if you send Germany sends some, then we'll also send some.
Well, if it
Duke
makes a difference, might as well just do it. But I don't. I think that they're looking at. I think maybe America's looking at it from a cost point of view, thinking it's going to be more of a hassle to get them there and for them to be maintained and all that.
I think they're probably thinking it's going to be more of a hassle for the Ukrainians to maintain them. They're going to need a lot of training on them and on maintaining them. Duke says we might not be sending our Challengers anyway. Ukraine are having a hard time getting hold of the shells for them. Surely Britain would be help supply the shells or give them some shells. for them. I don't know, but I mean the Leopards are the most prevalent tanks in Europe, so there's lots of them. Most of Europe seems to have them. So it's just a case of there's training capabilities all over Europe on them. It's just a case of getting them over to Ukraine and getting people trained on them.
Yeah, but they need. Look, we want this war to end as quickly as possible.
Mm.
And should money really be as I say, should money be a factor? I guess it kind of does, but then we're talking about
Well,
a country's very existence at stake here, an innocent country being trying to be hostilely taken over here. So
Poland's been sort of saying, "Oh yeah, we'll send the tanks." Once Germany agrees, we'll send tanks, and then as soon as they agree, they're like, "Yeah, we want the money back from the EU for sending these tanks over." So I don't know
yeah,
whether all these other countries are going to expect to get money back from the EU. I suppose there is a fund there in the EU
mm.
for that. But yeah. Should we move on to the next thing then?
Hi Rosen, just see you there
Oh
in the
yes,
chat, and
sorry.
Pineapple Boy, good to see you guys.
Hi, Pineapple
Yeah,
Wine
so
Rosen
going
and Hugh.
from that, we're still talking about Ukraine, but something a bit more worryingly, shall we say?
Well, yeah, but I mean, hopeful as well. Stop Ukrainian officials quitting anti-corruption drive. Do you want me to read this one?
Yeah, you've got this one.
So, senior, uh, several senior Ukrainian officials have resigned as President Volodymyr Zelensky begins a shake-up of personnel across his government. Top advisor, 4 deputy ministers, and 5 regional governors left their posts on Tuesday. The departure has come as Ukraine launches a broad anti-corruption drive. Recently, authorities have seen bribery claims, reports of officials buying food at inflated prices, and one figure accused of living a lavish lifestyle. Senior aide Mikhailo Podolyak said Mr. Zelensky was responding to a key public demand that justice should apply to everyone. The president has already banned state officials from leaving the country unless on authorized business. The first to resign on Tuesday was uh, Kirilo Timoshenko, the president's deputy head of office, who oversaw regional policy and had earlier worked on Mr. Zelensky's election campaign. After Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine last February, he became a frequent spokesperson for the government. He was accused by Ukrainian investigative journalists of using several expensive sports cars throughout the war, though denies any wrongdoing. He thanked Mr. Zelensky for the opportunity to do good deeds every day and every minute. Um, Deputy Defense Minister Vyacheslav Shapovalov, God, I'm really struggling.
Better than me, that's for sure.
Shapovalov also resigned following reports he oversaw the purchase of military food supplies at inflated prices from a relatively unknown firm. The department called this a technical mistake and claimed no money had changed hands. Defense Minister himself, Alexei Reznikov, has been under scrutiny for the same reason. A host of other top officials were dismissed on Tuesday, including Deputy Prosecutor General Alexei Simonenko, Deputy Minister for Development of Communities and Territories Ivan Lukaria, Deputy Minister for Development of Communities and Territories Vyacheslav Negoda, Deputy Minister for Social Policy Vitaly Muzhichenko, and regional governors of Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhia, Kiev, Sumy, and Kherson. Sorry, my voice is going as well. Ukraine has a history of corruption, and in 2021, Transparency International ranked the country at 122 out of 180 countries in its ranking of corrupt states. A crackdown is one of the EU's key demands if the country is to advance its application to join the bloc. In an address on Sunday, Mr. Zelensky promised there will be no return to what used to be in the past, to the way various people close to the state institutions used to live. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Um, I mean, you know, the corruption has been there for a long time in Ukraine. It's like like the bit where he says that he was using several expensive cars throughout the war. It's like, what are you doing
Yeah,
driving expensive cars in a war-torn country? That was
one.
the first thing I was like, whoa, like
Yeah,
come on,
it's not in
like
this article. like he said, it was in a different article. He basically there was an SUV that was been supplied for
Yeah.
humanitarian aid, and he was driving it around as his personal car, um, allegedly, um,
Mm.
and driving around in a Porsche Taycan that somebody had lent him, or it was one of his friends. I don't know, but yeah, you're in the middle of a
Yeah.
war, in the middle of a war zone, really, and you're driving around in flash cars. I mean, going back to this,
Yeah.
one of the criticisms of Zelensky, because his rating, his public rating,
Mm.
his approval was pretty low at the beginning of the war, before the war started, and it
Mm.
was because of things like the helicopter. Remember the helicopter crash last week, that killed a lot of senior officials in the government.
Mm.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was basically, it was a helicopter that had been donated by, or bought from Canada, I think, before the war, and it was supposed to be for search and rescue purposes and things like that. The, Zelensky had actually been, there's a bit of uh, let's see, an issue where he'd allegedly used it. I don't know if it's that particular helicopter or one of these helicopters that have been supplied. He'd used it as a means to transport a load of his mates to somebody's birthday party. So he was using it as his own public helicopter, his own private helicopter, I should say. That was the allegations at the time, and it caused his poll ratings to drop dramatically. But obviously, the war started and things changed. But um, yeah, so there are allegations of corruption. The thing is, Russia, Ukraine needs to get corruption out, get rid of it. Weed it out of the government, because and out of the country, because it's never going to get you on the EU while it's got that high levels of corruption. And it's also it looks bad while it's getting all this equipment from other countries, that it's like can't even get its own house in order. So yeah, it needs to get to grips with it.
Yeah. Yes. I think they're gonna. This story, like, it's a step in the right direction, but it's a long way off from. I think it's fair to say it's a long way off from joining the EU.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, the massive point there at the bottom of the article is like they're getting billions and billions of pounds from Western allies,
yeah,
and um, see, it says stakes are high for Kiev, which is receiving billions of dollars worth of financial aid from Western allies,
yeah,
and the fact that some of that money is not going to
yeah.
where it needs to go is big red flags. So this is where, like, the reluctance from certain people to send a certain amount of money to Ukraine, and this also feeds into the and also this is also bad from a publicity point of view, because it feeds into the right wing rhetoric of this is why we can't trust Ukraine.
Yeah.
This is why we can't send them money. We can't send them tanks. We can't send them this because they're splashing. And I mean, this article here, you're just going to see, like, the likes of Fox and GB News basically saying, "Oh, why should we be giving them money and tanks if they're going to be spending it on sports cars and luxury
Mm.
lifestyle?" And it's just, yeah, it's not a very good picture.
Doesn't paint a good picture.
Um,
Well, I mean, there's one thing
no.
they've got to grips with it straight away. They've got
Mm.
now, once it came out that they've, because the defense infrastructure minister, Lazinski,
Mm.
was arrested on Saturday on suspicion of accepting a bribe worth over $350,000 over the supply of electricity generators. There was a list. There was a graphic thing of um, all the prices that they were paying for food for the military, supplies, and it was like some of the stuff was like 3 or 4 times the price of what that's the normal cost of it. So somebody was making a hell of a lot of money out of it. Yeah.
Rosen
Relations.
says people will
Sorry.
always take advantage of
Yeah.
a war type situation to line their own pockets if they have the opportunity, I reckon. Has to be stamped out. Plus, as you say, future EU membership.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chatty Rat says war is good for those in the food business, especially meat. Panama Boy
Yeah.
says and the arms business. Yeah, true.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just going back a bit, has Ziwani, I think.
Hey, Doug. Good to see you. Good to see you, Doug. Hope you're well.
I Doug. Um, Has he resigned yet, or whatever his bent name is? Nadim Zahawi. No, he's still there, still clinging on by his fingernails.
I'll check. I'll check, but I don't think he has.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll have a quick nose. I doubt it. If I'm honest. Nope. No headline of anything of that sort. No.
Mm,
Sorry. I'll keep an eye out.
yeah. Okay. Shall we move on to this one then? Moving away from
We
Ukraine
shall indeed.
and Sajid Javid.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one was a couple of days ago. I haven't seen too much talk about this, but me and you talked a little bit about it before we went live as well. But so this one, Savage Javid calls for patients to pay for GP and A visits. So obviously, this is as it's an attempt to kind of put it out there and just see how the public react. So
Yeah.
patients should be charged for GP appointments and A&E visits, Savage has said, as he calls for the present model of the NHS unsustainable. The former health secretary says extending the contributory principle should be part of radical reforms of tackling growing waiting times. In the opinion piece of the Times, he calls for a grown-up, hard-headed conversation about the revamp about the health service, of noting that too often the appreciation of the NHS has become a religious fever and a barrier to reform. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is not currently considering the proposals, down the street told the newspaper. During his campaign for the Tory leadership, Sunak started his plan to issue £10 fines for patients who miss GP or hospital consults. But he backtracked on the pledge, as we call a U-turn, after it was widely criticised by health leaders, signalling the controversy surrounding any reform that could threaten the principle of the free NHS healthcare at the point of need. Javid said the NHS's only radical mechanism is to make people wait should be replaced by test fees while protecting those on low incomes. We should look on a cross-party basis at extending the contributional principle, he wrote. This conversation will not be easy, but it can help the NHS ration its fine supply more effectively. He pointed to Ireland's normalised €75, that's £66 fee for attending an injury unit without a referral, and a £20 fee charge for GP appointments in Norway and Sweden as possible models. Too often the appreciation of the NHS has become a religious fever and a barrier to reform. The MP has also said. Yeah, I can tell him where he could take that idea. I'll tell him to take that idea where the sun don't shine, because we all know the real reason why the NHS is not working, and it's not because it needs reform. It's because it's being privatized, and it's being privatized piece by piece by piece. We all know this. The stories have been going on for months and years. You guys have been more than aware of it. It's been red flagged on consistent basis, and this is another way of basically telling the public, like, we can't fix the NHS. We're just gonna have to change it a little bit. We're just gonna have to make, you're just gonna have to pay a little bit for it. We know it's free, but you're just gonna have to pay a little bit. And then when you get into this idea that, oh, you know what, it's not gonna hurt people, and then they're gonna say, then something else is gonna go wrong, and they're gonna say, well, you know what? These operations, they're costing us way too much taxpayer money. You're gonna have to pay for them, and this is where it's gonna. And then eventually, it's gonna get to a point like, oh, your mother's dying of cancer. Oh, that's gonna cost you £2,000, out of your own pocket. The NHS can't afford to pay for it these days. That's where it's coming to. That's what they want to do. And this is the system they have in America. There's a reason why Rishi Sunak went over into America. I think it was a few years ago or last year, to meet with American healthcare business people, because this is what they want. They want it all to be privatized, healthcare insurance, paying out of your own pocket. This is complete nonsense from Savage Javid, and I'm sure Lee, you, and everyone in the chat agrees with me.
Yeah, I saw an article. I was trying to find the picture of it. The chart showing the real term spending, the increasing spending. So, over the years since Labour first got into power, up until
Yeah,
now.
Bill from A Different Bias had a graph on it as well. I've seen
Right.
basically the spending, obviously, in comparison to when Labour were in power, was significantly higher as opposed to the Conservatives'
Yeah.
13 years of rule,
Apart from the
the,
last year, which like went above, and that
which
was
was
because
COVID, obviously.
COVID and PPE and all the rest of it that
Yeah,
was spent.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we've been saying this for a while, and it's Nigel Farage tried to push it a bit back, and he got a bit of a backlash from people. He was videoed in a meeting of UKIP or Brexit Party, whatever it was at the time he was in,
mm,
and he basically said, "Oh, we need to look at the NHS going to an insurance model." And everyone went, "Ooh," and he thought, "Ugh." But I mean, he was pushing it because his best mate and his backer, not Richard Tice, the other guy, I've forgotten his name now. He runs a big insurance company, um,
mm,
so he's obviously got a vested interest in it. But the Tories, yeah, they want to privatise it. They've been doing it by stealth. They're looking at ways that they can, that they can. It used to be free to go to the dentist. I don't remember a time it was, but it used to be. It's not anymore. Unless you're on low income, or you certain things like pregnant or child or old age
yeah,
pensioner. For everybody else, you have to pay. You have to pay for prescriptions. This is just another thing that they'll basically say, if you want to see a GP, you're gonna have to pay. It's already kind of almost in, because a lot of GPs also private, and they'll basically say, we saw it after the pandemic. It was towards the end of the pandemic. If you want it, you can go to people trying to get GP appointments, and they were told, "Oh, sorry, there's like a 3 week waiting list, or you can pay 50 quid and we will see you straight away." That this is already happening. It happens in the dentist if you're on an NHS dentist, and we've had it where they basically said, "Oh, you can go private now if you want. We're going private," and it's like, nah. It's
yeah.
still all privatized anyway. Our dentist is Bupa.
Yeah,
Um,
I was paying. Like, I consider myself very fortunate because when I was younger, I had braces for 3 years, and I've kept them on for 3 years,
yeah,
and I have retainers. And I'm very fortunate that my teeth have been in good health. And then after that, it was just a case of having a yearly appointment. That's all I had, and all I had to pay for. I think it was like 20 quid or something that I paid to the local dentist. I think it was the last time I paid to go in for a checkup.
yeah,
But obviously now it's like you're paying out of pocket, just and if you're someone who has teething problems, it's yeah, it's
yeah. Well, the problem is it's getting, if you got an NHS, if you with a dentist as an NHS patient, then you get it cheaper. You get it subsidised to an extent.
yeah,
But if
yeah,
you're not NHS on an NHS dentist, then you pay the private prices, full prices.
yeah,
Now my son, talking about retainers and braces, my son's just had a retainer last couple of weeks. Um, he waited 2 years to get onto that um, through the NHS. It's NHS as your Bupa dentist and a Bupa orthodontist. And
yeah,
the orthodontist was like, "Look, if you don't if you don't keep your teeth clean, if you don't wear the brace, if you don't do this, don't do that, they'll basically just cut it and say, sorry, that's it, we're not going to fund it anymore." So you have to be they're very strict with it now,
mm,
in terms of making sure that you follow it through.
yeah,
Because my son was struggling to put it in and take it out, and he was like, the first few days was a bit horrendous, actually getting him used to it. But
yeah. I know exactly what you was going through, but I
yeah,
but I grit my teeth and just went through it, and
yeah.
it's paid off for me.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
my screen's gone off for some
I've
reason. Oh,
moved. For some
I'm
reason, I
jumping
know, I
all
know.
over the place now.
Sorry, I moved the
Lee's
screen.
having
That's why.
Lee's having fun with my camera.
There we go. It's
um,
all right. Sorry.
uh, but
I think. Yeah.
Bupa, for those who don't know, is a private healthcare, and they've always been around in England, haven't they?
They belong
Bupa.
for a long time. I
Um,
mean, Bupa
yeah, for a long
supposedly
time.
they're supposed to be non-profit making, so all the money goes back into the business, into
We'll say they're one of the safer private healthcare, shall we say, one of the safer ones. I'll put it that way. It's still private either way.
Mm.
But just going back on, but yeah, we're going off track here. But
Yeah,
just going
sorry.
back onto obviously David Javid's proposal. You were saying before the live stream, you were saying that this was kind of more of a test the water sort of thing, wasn't it? On
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see
it's
how the
just
public would react.
yeah, and the thing is, there'll be more and more of these calls, so that it's already in people's minds that this is coming down the line. So when it actually does, it doesn't feel as bad. You know, people are ready for it, but I don't think it's not right. And it's just because they just don't want us. They just don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So,
Just
so
what they
looking
say.
in the chat, go on.
What are they saying in the chat? Let me see. Let me just go up a little bit. Sounds like the US healthcare system, says Gingers. Yep, that's where we're. Looks like we're
It'll
going.
start off with £10 to see a GP, and eventually it'll be like, no, you're gonna have to have full health insurance in order to see a doctor.
Still care, says Pineapple. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. There's still care. I'm still paying for my MRI I had in October, says Gingers. See, that's just, yeah, it's just
So
ridiculous.
Larry the cat says, I'm sure Nadeem has a few quid down the back of his sofa as he's so careless.
Yeah, he is very, very careless. Lefty Boat says, I actually felt guilty for using the NHS over this past month. I know I shouldn't. My GP has done more for me in a month than my old one did in 25 years.
We all pay for it. We all pay for it in taxes one way or another. So
Yeah,
you
Lefty Boat, you need to
shouldn't feel
remember,
guilty
we
about
are, even though you're not physically paying out of your own pocket, everyone pays into it. Yeah, so don't ever feel guilty about using the NHS in any way,
it.
shape, or form. That goes for everyone in the chat. Yeah, don't ever feel guilty about it,
Unless you
because
literally are
that
taking
is
a mickey going when you're not actually well. When you're
it's
not
there for
when
us.
you are
We
actually well.
pay for it. When they say like you got to contribute yourself, we are already contributing to it. The only difference is that this Conservative government is not putting their contribution in to ensure that it's an effective system.
Because it doesn't suit their eventual aims, which is to privatise the whole thing. I mean, just going back, because if you remember when Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, before the all the COVID stuff, remember those things where he kept popping up in hospitals in the middle of the night? Do you remember that? Nobody remembers
And
it
then
now.
someone challenged him, didn't they? Like,
Well,
why are you here,
somebody
sort of thing.
but I think that was different. But he was literally, people just said, I was in the hospital. Boris Johnson was just there walking around with nurses, and it was like he just random hospitals in the middle of the night. And you kind of like were thinking, what was he doing there? Was he eyeing up what could be done with privatisation, or how they could privatise it, or what? Don't know. It seems very bizarre.
Yeah, but Boris Johnson's a PR man. You know, you see him as
No,
dressed
but
as a scientist.
these
You've seen
weren't.
him dressed
No,
as a
but these weren't.
builder. You've seen him.
Yeah, but these weren't publicised. These were like literally, it was people in the hospitals, like in A&E or whatever, like reported to the press. And there weren't pictures of him doing it. It was like he was just kind of kept being seen in hospitals. Very bizarre. But anyway, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, it's just point out. Casper was saying, does everyone in Scotland and Wales pay for prescriptions as well? We Scott Dog says no prescription charge in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Used to get free specs on the NHS too. I think kids get a voucher towards costs, which may just about cover cheaper glasses. Not sure though. Could be different Scotland versus UK too.
Yeah, I mean there was a bit of a stigma when I was a kid. With kids used to get, if you're on the NHS, you got NHS glasses, and they all look the same, which is a bit, So I mean, however you want to look at it, what
Why
they
you all
did
got
was,
the same glasses?
well, but then you knew who the NHS kids, who the kids were getting NHS glasses were, rather than the ones who were getting nice private ones. So what they did was he changed it. So I mean, it's a Thatcher thing, but in a way, it was good that he got rid of that stigma, because everybody got a voucher which covered the cost of a pair of glasses. So at least you weren't all wearing these same NHS specs, that everybody knew who they were. But anyway.
Boris Johnson was scouting for Totty, says number 3.
Maybe he'll sign up the nurses, maybe.
Yeah. Coke makes you do some weird things. Well, we'll be talking about a man who likes to sniff coke in just a moment, allegedly. Speaking of of coke.
Um,
The NHS bins. I
was he
remember
doing a
them well,
Jimmy?
says Sir Larry the Cat.
Was he doing Jimmy Savile? Oh God, no.
Oh, let's not go that. Let's not go
Yeah, no,
that
let's not
way.
go
No.
there. Yeah. Right.
Wow.
So where are we? What we doing? Where am I?
Where am I? You're live on the show.
Where am I? Oh, you penguins doing it.
Yeah. Oh,
Michael Gove
he did
meets.
say. Speaking of coke.
Yeah, very appropriate, very apt. Michael
Yeah, very
Gove.
appropriate timing. Yeah. So
Michael Gove
Michael
meet.
Gove.
Met, I'll read this one.
Or the
Yeah, so Michael Gove meets mayors for 2 minutes at Northern Conference.
he must have got a lot in 2 minutes.
Yeah. So Michael Gove was promised to bring the spirit of Thatcherism to the north of England, which is just what the north of England loves, a bit of Thatcherism. At a conference where he failed to meet most of the region's leaders. The northern mayors wanted to lobby Gove to get the government to strip TPE Transpennine Express of its rail contract after the operator cancelled up to 46% of its services in recent days. Gove, the Levelling Up Secretary, met the Greater Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, for about 10 minutes after he gave the keynote speech at the Convention of the North in Manchester on Wednesday. But he did not have time for meetings with the mayors of the Liverpool City region, West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, or the north of Tyne. Dahina Davison.
He hadn't had any coke yet, Lee. That's why.
He had to rush off because he had to meet his dealer, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe realise it's cheaper up north, I don't know. Sorry, I have no
Anyway,
idea whether
carry
that's
on.
true or not. I'm just guessing. Davison, a Levelling Up minister, was supposed to be appearing at a conference but cancelled because of business in Westminster. He's the second big northern event she's missed in recent months following her absence in the Great Northern Conference in November. In his speech, Gove made frequent references to partnering, kept sniffing and twitching, sweating. Gove made frequent references to partnering with strong local leaders, saying Levelling Up worked best when you're working in partnership with empowered, strengthened, economically ambitious local leaders who are equal partners in our shared national endeavour. But Oliver Coppard, the mayor of South Yorkshire, said he tried and failed to meet Gove while he was in Manchester. The government, and Michael Gove in particular, keep on talking about how important Levelling Up is. Indeed, today Michael called it an urgent moral mission. He's right. He could have used today to meet with me and the other mayors of the North to talk about how we can work together to make Levelling Up a reality. I'm sorry he didn't take that opportunity. A source in the Levelling Up department said Gove would have liked to have stayed longer, but he had to return to London for events related to the Holocaust Memorial Day on Friday.
Yeah, so obviously there's the Holocaust events, obviously that are
but
important.
But he obviously, he's supposed to be Levelling Up minister. He couldn't even bother. He turned up late and then couldn't be bothered talking to anybody else. Lefty Boat says they have no interest in anything outside the M25. True. Larry the Cats, I'm sure the mining areas will appreciate the spirit of Thatcher. Yeah, how much Levelling Up gets done in 10 minutes. Just one of the things he says there, sorry, just finishing off there, is that he told the conference that he took inspiration for Levelling Up from Margaret Thatcher's regeneration of London's docklands. Well, that's great. I mean, it basically kicked out all the working class people from the area, which is already in a bad state, and then what's the word? Gentrified the whole area. So now you have to be like a multi-millionaire to live in around, or very rich to live in Docklands. So yeah, great.
Yeah,
really good for
how's
Levelling
that
Up.
Levelling Up going in the north, Lee? Are you seeing a change in the Levelling Up around your area?
No, I mean there was the contrast is like the government's Levelling Up is the Cheadle, which is a constituency just near me. They're having a new station built, which is actually ironically is a station that replaces a station that is now a pub. That just across the road from on the same track, that was a pub like sort of 60 years ago, but was shut down. So yeah, but that was already on the cards. They're just getting money towards doing it. But there's an article about I saw yesterday about a lot of these Levelling Up projects are actually running over budget, so they're having to be scaled back or put on hold for the time being, because even with the money the government's given them isn't enough to do the job. Then the contrast is the mayor, Greater Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, is bringing all the transport in under council control, which means that we can have a London, what they call London style system, where everything is all, they call it the B network. Everything's going to be under one roof, so all the buses will be franchised rather than just allowing bus companies to run their own services. And it's overseen by the transport executive. Now they'll all be organised and run and funded by the council, by Greater Manchester Transport, and then that'll also move into trains, the trams, and all those things. So you can have it's really difficult. We can't have an Oyster card system in Manchester because there's so many different companies running different parts of the networks and bus networks. It's just an absolute mess.
Originally that was exactly the original problem in London with the tube network, and then they put it all under one banner, and that's exactly what you need to do in Manchester.
Yeah.
Do the same thing.
Well, when they deregulated the buses, when they deregulated the buses back in the 80s, they left London alone. But the rest of the country got split. Basically allowed any bus company to run whatever they wanted, to do whatever they wanted. Rest of the country. Sorry, go on. You were saying?
No, I don't. It's just wanted to add that little bit, but if he, he calls himself the level up secretary, and he's not even prepared to even meet with the local mayor. It's like just a complete waste of time. Being in that position. Okay, he spent 10 minutes with the London, with Andy Burnham, but what about the rest of them? Well, when he said to work with them and all that, well, he didn't even bother even having a meeting with them. So, waste of space he is.
Yeah.
What's the chat saying, Lee?
So Left Boat says we've got a new bench. Does that count? Royce says Irish ministers have been over.
Is it on the left side or the right side, Boater?
Irish ministers have been over meeting mayors, etc. in North of England, read trade, etc. for longer than 10 minutes. I think I would have thought so. If you're going to make the effort, you would actually spend more than 10 minutes, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Surrey Quays, no one that was bought up there can afford to live there anymore. Cheers, Gove, old boy. Yeah, that's Docklands, isn't it? Surrey Quays, I think.
Daily Blase says our park got an extra dog bin. Who said the Tories don't care about the North? Daily Blase. Good to see you.
Yeah, hi, Daily Blase. Larry Cat says hi, Heidi ho, Daily Blase. Wow, a new dog poop bin. That's leveling up in action. Yes.
Oh dear.
Yeah, not Catherine says Northern Ireland we have TransLink for buses and trains. Private coaches can operate, but mostly for tourism. Yeah, he's well, this is one of the things that all these mayors that we're talking about there are all trying to do the same thing, which is London-based transport system, and do it bit by bit, but they're all heading in that direction. And essentially you could have an integrated one across the whole of the north if you wanted to. There's no, and this is part of the reason why they wanted to talk to him, to try and get the powers to do those sort of things.
Let's hope that Labour, when they get in power, cross fingers that they can set something up for the future for the north. Let's hope so. Anyway, so
it's not just the north; it's anywhere outside London. It's I know you live there, so you've kind of got a different perspective of it, but the way it's all integrated, the way the buses run, the trains, the tube. There's nothing like that outside London, and it's a complete mess in some parts.
I can't speak on experience because I've never lived outside, so I can't speak on it.
Okay, I should move on then.
Yes, let's do that.
This one. Do you want to talk about this one then? Or should just watch the video?
Let's play the clip, and then we'll let the chat speak on it. So this is for some of you may have heard this story already. Matt Hancock was allegedly assaulted. There's no video evidence as far as I'm aware of him being assaulted, but anyway, let's just play the clip and let you guys make a judgment for yourselves.
Hey, I can't record it. I'm recording, can you see? So Matt, let's have a sit down and have a gentleman debate, which you don't do in the media. Protected by the press. Appreciate what? Appreciate you being defended, you murdering bastard. This is Matt Hancock, the murderer. Eh?
I'm leaving the station.
Excuse me.
The gentleman on the train. Sir, please don't do this. Please.
This is Matt Hancock, the murderer. Matt Hancock, my Dazzleland murderer. Matt Hancock, that's happy to go on to celebrity. I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here. Well, you're a celebrity. Get you in prison. Get you in prison. Harassing? Have you said harassed? Great. How about 1964 million people that you harassed when you're locking launches down on your COVID fraud? You lying son of a bitch. You back off. Yeah, politician, the scalp.
Sir, please don't do
Hey,
this. Please,
look at him with a little sorry face.
Sir, please
You
don't
locked
do
down
this.
everybody in this country. You harassed me. Police arrested me 16 times.
Please
Oh,
don't
looking
do
at him
this.
now, look.
Please
Looking
don't
at
do
him.
this.
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me.
Please don't do this. I beg
Get
you.
your hands off me.
Sir, please.
Just shut up.
Please don't do this.
Right?
Please. Please, sir.
So, very simple questions, Matt Hancock. Sat down here nice and calm.
I'm begging you.
Just shut your mouth for a second. Let him answer his questions. That's all we're doing.
I don't think this aggression is appropriate from you.
Hey?
I don't think this aggression is appropriate.
Oh, it's
towards the
aggression, is
London,
it?
It is, towards the London Underground.
Oh, the London Underground. So you'll try everything, won't you? That's a political answer. So, Matt Hancock, now that we're sat to each other, now that the BBC, that never...
So I think, I mean, one of the things that we look at that is that he starts talking about I was locked down like and arrested 16 times for protesting. I'm guessing that this guy is a COVID denier from just off the back of that. I don't know. I haven't seen the thing, but I mean he's definitely harassing him. I mean, and telling the woman from the tube to shut up several times. He's just, he's out of order really. He's been arrested, the guy, for it. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, this is like, look, there is a lot of anger brewing at politicians, and there is a way to deal with it. And guys in the chat, I know that some of you might be thinking, he absolutely deserves this gripe and that, but we don't sink to their level. We don't sink to their level, and there is a way of no, I'm not feeling sorry for Matt Hancock.
I don't feel sorry for how
Larry.
Matt Hancock got.
No, we're not. I don't feel sorry for the guy.
I just
Trust me.
but
None
I
of us
don't
feel
think
sorry
the way he's done
but
it is right.
The point we're trying to make here is that you're not helping the situation. You're not helping the situation by doing this. Like, who is this supposed to help? How is this supposed to help our points in that by shouting and screaming about it at people on the tube who are simply just going about their daily lives, some of them who don't even care about politics? How is this helping anybody? It's not helping anybody. Yeah. We want justice. Of course we all want justice. But this is not the way to do it. Yeah. This is not the way to do it, guys. I understand. I understand, and trust me, I would love to see this guy behind bars for what he has done, because he is responsible for people's lives lost. He is responsible for hurting a lot of people, and he has made a lot of mistakes, and he's, enriched himself with the positions of power that he's been given. Yeah, but this is not the way to do it, guys. Okay, if you want a better example, he's not perfect, but there is Steve Bray, who protests outside the Houses of Parliament all the time on the Brexit. He has never crossed that line, as far as I'm aware. I've ever seen him cross that line. He asks the questions. He follows them and asks the questions, but you won't see him harassing, swearing, shouting what you saw in this clip. And that is, there is nothing wrong with what he does in comparison to what you saw in this clip.
Yeah, it's a bit. He does get a bit close to the knuckle a bit, Steve Bray, but he doesn't do things like he didn't like. The guy there is basically telling very rudely the lady who's just asking to just not to do it, and he's going, just shut up. It's just not. That's just not how he did it. Plus, I think someone says Lefty Bot says tin foil hat fella, went the wrong way about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
too aggressive in my
views.
Plus, he's rude to other people. Yeah, and he's got him trapped there, hasn't he? Steve Bray follows him around, and talking to him. He's most of the time he's very polite. So
Yeah.
this guy wasn't. He was really calling him a murderer and selling other people as a murderer and all the rest of it. I don't know. He's just Lee Anderson offered Steve Bray to a boxing match. Yeah, Lee Anderson's been much more rude been ruder to Steve Bray than Steve Bray has been rude to him.
So Larry says Femi does these things close to this, but it's quite factual questioning. Yes, he does a great job. Femi does a great job.
Yeah.
He doesn't do what this guy does, but he's like journalists like constantly like asking those questions, putting the pressure on them, but not in such a way that is aggressive.
Yeah, we need to make a move now because it's already 10 o'clock. So we're need to get a move. Let's
ride. Let's go.
We go to Paul, our favourites, the back. I haven't seen him for a while.
Emotionless greeting, introducing a brand new look for a brand new government with a brand new 3-part slogan. Finding it hilarious that you, the great British people, are still putting up with all of this without a single riot. Note to self, bloody glad we're not in France, otherwise they would have guillotine sounds by now. Admitting that the chair of the Conservative Party, Nadine Zahawi, might have done a children's voice, ickle-wickle tiny bit of tax cheating, but it would be inappropriate for him to resign, or indeed face any consequences whatsoever, because he's super rich. Taking question from a Daily Telegraph journalist.
Slut, wondering if the minister would agree with me.
Oh God, of course, yes, absolutely, anything, yes.
Continuing the question, Slup, wondering if the minister would agree with me that it's, chuckling while talking, perfectly normal for an incoming chair of the BBC to guarantee a loan for a serving Prime Minister.
Stroking chin whilst aggressively agreeing, robustly denying that there's anything dodgy about Boris being so wank with money that he had to ask the BBC chap for help, laughing and farting simultaneously at the suggestion there's a revolving door between government and the media. And, Scottish accent, finally wishing everyone in Scotland a happy Burns night, while we do our damnedest in Westminster to override your democratic votes. Can't think why Scotland would want independence. Breakneck nod. Oh, dying, thank you.
Yeah, they're on tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Very funny, very funny.
Larry and Paul, people, tomorrow
Larry
night.
And Paul, yeah. If you watched it last week, Larry is the guy who was the Telegraph journalist. He ended up doing a 1.2 million Scoville, a spoonful of that. 1.2 million Scoville called Man the F Up. And he was in a bad way afterwards. So he's obviously recovered to make the video, but yeah, he wasn't looking very well after.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So, moving quickly on. Oh, so do you want to say something about that then?
No, let's go straight to the next story then.
Yeah.
What was the next story? Oh God, why have I not got it up here?
You not got that
that's
one?
Not good. I didn't put it up on my here. For some dumb-ass reason. I am not very good, chat.
Man who was swallowed whole by whale.
Yeah, this is quite a interesting story. So, man who swallowed whole by whale said he only realised what happened after it got dark. How did that happen? So, a man who got swallowed whole by a whale didn't even realise he was being eaten until everything went dark around him. Wildlife photographer Rainier Skimpt had been in the water off the South African coast to film something called a sardine run, where the denizens of the deep herd school of sardines together so that they can more easily eat them. Snorkeling just off the sea of the Port Elizabeth Harbour, Skimpt ended up being gobbled by a bride whale as he tried to capture the sardine run in all its glory. Fortunately, he survived the whole thing without even so much of a scratch. But had the whole whale decided to dive down while he was stuck inside his mouth, he was most likely had died. Luckily, it ultimately spat him out safely instead of dragging him down to his watery grave. Skip revealed that the process of getting eaten by a whale was pretty much over before he knew it, as he told today that it hadn't deterred him from getting back in the water at all. He said it took less than 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, the first thing I realised that it was something grabbed me. It pushed my hips together. I could feel the pressure, and instantly I knew it was a whale. My second thought was that obviously it can't swallow me because the throat of the whale was not big enough to swallow the human. My next thought is most likely going to dive down with me. I held my breath as I prepared, and that's the only thing I could do. You can't fight a 15-ton mammal. It was just holding on and bracing myself, calming myself not to be panicked. It worked out, and he spat me out. When Rainer got home and he discovered the modern inconvenience of being eaten alive hadn't even left a single mark on his body in the form of a bruise or a scratch.
Okay,
He
there's
also
video.
explained that
Sorry, there's video of it as well. Go on. Sorry, go on.
I haven't clicked the video, so I don't know if there's copyright. That's the only thing.
Right. Okay. Well, I can turn the audio off. So, if need be.
I don't know if there's actual footage of him being. It's from NBC. There's a video.
Do you want? Should we watch the video? Or do you want to finish the story?
Well, I don't think we chat needs any more understanding than of a man being
let's...
swallowed by a rail. I don't think there's any sound with if it's from NBC News. I could be wrong though.
This has to be an unprecedented picture. Take a look. There, the jaws of a whale, and there, the legs and flippers of a man.
I thought it was just footage of it.
Now,
It's
this
just
guy
a picture.
is a nature photographer. He was there to film the world-famous sardine run. So, of course, once he swam back to his boat, he asked his team, "Did you get the picture?"
Oh yeah, there is.
It is one of the great spectacles of nature, the stunning sardine run off the South African coast. But what came next was even more incredible and unexpected. In the jaws of a whale, a wildlife photographer, just his legs showing.
It took less than 2 seconds.
And amazingly, he survived.
In that 2 seconds, the first thing which I realized is that something grabbed me, pushed my hip together, and I could feel the pressure and instantly knew it was a whale.
This morning, Rainer Schimpf telling us there wasn't time to be terrified.
My second thought was that obviously it can't swallow me because the throat of the whale is not big enough to swallow a human. And my next thought was it's most likely going to dive down with me.
Everything went black.
So yeah, I mean, he's pretty much saying what you said, what you read out from the article. Yeah. So I thought it was actually giving me footage of it. So.
Well, we can clearly see the picture anyway. So
yeah,
that's quite a frightening moment for most people. But for him, he's an expert, so he pretty scary, I would say. Yeah, but
Noddy Salsi says, was he expecting the whale to have windows? Well, because it went dark. Has anyone seen the article about a man shot dead by his dog only in America? Says Daily Blase. Yeah, we looked at an article about a pig killing the butcher who's going to slaughter it. That was an interesting one in China.
Yeah, there's an actual article of a pig killing a butcher, but obviously it's a bit of a we weren't sure about that one.
Right. So,
but if you guys really want it, I'll post it on the Discord server. If you guys really want to look at it.
Yeah. Right, here we go.
But,
this one. Next stop, Twat. My tour of Britain's fantastically filthy place names.
Oh, good God. Okay, sit back for this one, guys.
This one's mine. The UK is full of extremely rude-sounding towns and villages, but what's it like to live in them? Some locals can't wait to change names, while others embrace the quirk, even selling signpost souvenirs. On the road to Twat, a message arrives from a resident there. Am I making a pilgrimage up through Scotland to this hamlet on the island of Orkney, only to admire its notorious, unwittingly rude road sign? If so, don't bother. Our council was so frustrated by that sign being stolen, they've now not replaced it. Says Judith Glue, who runs a gift shop selling pictures of the old Twat sign to tourists who might otherwise leave the region disappointed. Grateful for a warning, I thank Glue and read over a list they've made of other dwelling places in the UK that, through some quirk of linguistic evolution, have found themselves in fantastic, filthy-sounding names. At Cockbridge in Aberdeenshire, they have the same trouble as in Twat. Our sign is constantly being pinched, says Jiva Blackett, councillor for the region. Sorry, I've lost it there. People have been taking them away as mementos. Why do they do it? Oh
Yeah, I wonder
dear.
why, Lee. What
I
could
d- I
that
don't
possibly
know.
be?
Well, it's a very long article, so I'm not going to read it. But what I did do was I did kind of I did sort of take note of some of the place names that are in this. So starting off with Ass Hill in Dorset, Shitterton,
Ass Hill.
yeah, and then there was
Shitterton.
then there was a famous one of this place in Austria.
You've all seen the famous video. If you have not seen the famous video of this, shame on you. Go Google it and watch it now.
Yeah.
After the show, not now.
So where they got so sick of people stealing the sign, taking the photographs, and basically American and Australian and British tourists going over and just taking a picture with the signs and everything, and they got sick of it. I remember the mayor saying, "Why?"
Well,
sorry, I can't remember. It was something like, "What is wrong? What is wrong with all these fucking visitors?" Or something like that. And it was, and anyway, they changed the name they voted and decided the people living there changed the name to Fugging, Fugging, just to stop people going around and taking a mickey out of it. Yeah. So.
How long before they realised the name of the town was actually a swear word?
Apparently it was in the during the Second World War when the Americans were invading. I think it's in Austria, isn't it? So when they got there, they were like they found it hilarious, and then news spread throughout all the Allies, and that's how it kind of became famous. So. But carrying on.
It took them that long for them to realise, maybe we should change the name of this town.
I think they tried a few votes over the years. Tried to attempt to change it, but eventually gave in. And there's Three Cocks, a village in Powys. Three Holes, a hamlet in Norfolk. There's Clench in Wiltshire. There's Yorkshire parish of Sexhow. There's Ugly in Essex, and Wetwang in.
Not very nice.
Wetwang in Yorkshire. In the late 2000s, a decision made by the ruling council in Castleford in Yorkshire to alter the name of a thoroughfare in the middle of the town. Ticklecock Bridge became Tittlecott Bridge, albeit briefly, because locals are so irritated by the prudish switch they campaigned for reversal. Ticklecock Bridge endures. And then there's Sandy Balls.
Crying out loud. Just be simple with your blimmin' town names. Come on.
Sandy Balls in Hampshire. Dancing Dick's Lane in Essex. Busty View in Durham. Happy Bottom in Dorset. Slack Bottom in Yorkshire. There's obviously a difference between bottoms in Dorset and Yorkshire. They need to level up, I think. Lady Gardens in Herefordshire. That's my favourite. But then this one reminded me of something when I was reading it. There's a place called Muff in County Donegal.
I've heard of Muff.
You've heard of Muff? Do you know there's a famous club there?
No.
There's a famous club. And it is. In Ireland. County Donegal. There it is, Muff in Donegal, Ireland. Muff welcomes you. But the best is... Welcome to Muff.
Jesus Christ.
The best is... Oh, hang on. No, it is the Muff Diving Club. There is actually a diving club in Muff. You can join and you get lifetime membership. You get t-shirt, certificate to say that you're a member of the Muff. The Muff Diving Club. Oh God! There's even pictures of members of the Muff Diving Club.
Did they think about what they were doing when they decided to call
Yes,
it the
I think. Oh God! Yeah. They basically they're leading into it and making some money off it. Fair enough. To South African Muff Diver.
Do members get free toothpicks, Lee?
Oh.
Great question, Larry. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
You've broken Lee. I didn't break Lee. Lee broke himself. He's the one who put the article up. It was not my idea.
Oh, my God. Oh, dear. Oh. Yeah, I had a lot of fun reading that article actually about different place names.
Yeah, I know you did. You were.
Oh.
He was. Chat. He was laughing before we even started the live stream. Buddy. I was like, oh God Almighty, what's he found?
Oh.
Oh,
Number three.
3 said, I had a female boss who was a member of the Lose Women's Institution event. Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Why? We Scott Stog says, why is that so funny? I like divers who once died for pearls but suffered from. Something like that, yeah. Oh dear. Right, should we move on?
I don't know if we can.
Oh.
Jesus, we're already 15 minutes over. I think we should leave the good news and
yeah, we've got we're on to we're done.
We were struggling for a good news story, so we'll share. I've got one, but we'll share it next week with you guys. We'll try and share maybe even 2 if we make the time for it, guys.
Yeah. I'm not close to tears for Larry the Cat. I am actually crying. There are tears coming out of my eyes.
And no, Kendra Lee is not turning into Max. Don't be so silly.
Why?
Silly. That is just, that is.
Oh dear.
Don't be silly now. Okay, guys. So we do have one more video for you guys, but obviously before we end the stream. So before we do that, just want to say, guys, a massive thank you to everybody who's come along and put a message in the chat. If you guys want to help support our show, you know what to do. You need to hit that like button. If you hit the thumbs down button, you're a Tory apparently. So just remember that. If you can as well, also help the algorithm to help get the channel out there. We're really hitting some really high numbers lately, guys. Thanks to you guys. So we really do appreciate it. If you can hit the share button, share it across other social media platforms, it'd be greatly appreciated. And finally, if you can hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when we go live. At the moment, we're still doing it every Wednesday, 9 o'clock UK PM time. Obviously, if that ever changes, we will let you guys know. 49 subscribers. We did hit 50, and then someone decided to unsubscribe. We don't know who that culprit is, but one day I will find that culprit and make them pay.
Well, we're getting well over 100 viewers per stream, which is good. So that's doubled in a few weeks. So that's really good.
So we'll just look at a couple more comments before we hit the outro video.
Lefty Voter says, don't forget to leave a comment on the video too. Yes, please. Yeah, leave a comment because that helps.
Yeah, if you guys can leave a comment, anything, feedback, anything,
just anything, guys, just whatever you want to put.
And I should something else, guys, as well. Some of you are already part of it. If you're not part of it, we have a server. It's a free Discord server. The links are on the channel. Lee will provide a link for you guys. If not now, right at the end of the stream as well.
When the video's on, I'll put it on
when we're playing the last video, Lee will put it in the chat for you guys. It's completely free to join. We do games nights. We do movie nights. We've got a music night coming up at the start of February as well, which is really fun. So we've always got something going on the server, as well as we post lots of articles as well from news as well, quotes and all sorts going on the server, guys. And it's completely free, no charge whatsoever. And also, guys, as well, we've got an after dark after the show, so you guys can come in and we can have a wee old chat about anything you want as well. Thanks so much for watching. But we just got one more video for them, haven't we, Lee?
We have one more. It's Matt Green. I haven't seen this, so.
Yep, I've not seen this either. No no, my favourite girl is not here today.
No.
We couldn't fit her in, so we'll have to squeeze her in next week at some point.
And
so I'm very disappointed.
On that bombshell, yeah. Hopefully, seeing the after dark thing, we'll put the screen link in while the video's playing. Otherwise, see you next week. All right, take care. Have a good week, everybody, and we'll leave you with Matt Green.
Yep, take care, guys. Much love, and bye.
Government minister who's been a little bit careless, but possibly not deliberately. Did you pretend to forget about that offshore trust, then threaten to sue anyone who reminded you? Or perhaps you gave up a cushy job in the city for the chance to make a real difference to your bank balance? Well, ignore those siren voices telling you you've done something wrong. Just close your eyes and repeat the golden rule. It's not corruption, if it's Britain. Exploiting a pandemic by helping your donors or leveraging your place in the House of Lords? It's not corruption if it's Britain. Taking money from the representatives of foreign governments and then just happening to do what they want? That's not corruption if it's Britain. Rewarding a friend and donor for helping you set up a loan with your cousin by giving him the top job at a much-loved institution? I mean, yes, that sounds bad, but corruption? In this country? Come on. Opponents not convinced? Put their minds at rest by launching an independent investigation run by a friend or a colleague or the father of a friend or colleague, or if you're really desperate, a colleague of your father's friend. But don't worry, they all went to Oxford, so you'll be fine. You say conflict of interest, I say synergy of influence. Because corruption is something that happens in other countries. Hot ones, probably. Can you really do dodgy deals in drizzle? And after all, politics is about helping people. And you're a person, right?
Website visitors